Like to say a little something about my Enochian studies. Mainly, it's a sort of devotional practice that is of varied meaning, both in the interpretation of myself and my intentions, and those who may see or read what I have to say about it. I am certain that my Enochian studies had started by 2003, getting into the writings of Benjamin Rowe and the Golden Dawn and stuff like this. But there's a good chance that Aleister Crowley was where the whole thing started, right? And for a good decade, I've been waiting for this book, The Complete Mystical Records of John Dee. It was originally going to be a manuscript project that basically just reproduced the manuscripts. I think there's an additional manuscript in this one, and it's a lot of hard work going through archives and of stuff from the 1500s and 1600s and trying to figure out what that blurry passage says and trying to read it all, and the lettering's kind of obscure in the modern sense. There's some books here that I don't have. I have The True and Faithful Relation. I'm rewriting it to give my interpretation, to pick out the linguistic little bits and, make this what I think the main parts of the story of John Dee and Edward Kelly and John Dee and his other scryers, as far as is told in A True and Faithful Relation by Merritt Casaubon. There's a revised one to make it exactly like the manuscripts, the Cotton Appendix and such. But, I've copied some of the things out by hand. I've copied the Furnishings of the Temple. Okay, that's MS Sloan 3191. I think I've copied some of the other ones out by hand for my own study and practice. I've taken the Great Tablet and as many as 4 variations. I've put them all in the same one. I've taken everything I could find, and I don't think I've seen anybody put all the variation. And I've color-coded it to make it easier and whatnot, because that's what my art does. It encodes information. So there are some inaccuracies in Crowley, and there's also some additional information. And Gerald and Betty Schuler have additional information, but I don't think it's as accurate or reliable as Crowley's information. The Bill and Judy Goodnow and Chick and S. Tabitha Cicero, I think that's how you pronounce their name, they've taken the 88, they've divided the Enochian Great Table into 88 sections, and they've rendered it according to the Western Tattva system, the fire, and, or maybe just fire or spirit or air or water. Now, this one is important. The 5 Books of Mystery, Joseph H. Peterson. It's very good in terms of, it's just like TFR and some of what you're going to see in the Complete Mystical Records of John Dee. It's something that one finds in, there's stuff that's not in the separate grimoires, and there's translations. I wish that there were complete translations with this volume, but if it's only $130 or something with all the shipping and all that, that's kind of what one wants. Enochian Vision Magic by Lon Milo Duquette. Honestly, I'd read all his books. I don't agree with his Chris Lemieux and some other things of his belief and practice, but he organizes some of the material and points out from a Enochian purist perspective, because that's what I like to do. I can, just like other aspects of religion, I go directly to the sources, but I consider, what past scholars have said in their interpretation, I consider the mystics. But as far as the sheer material, and, there's some stuff that just didn't quite work until, I mean, it worked different for me after reading this book. Now, it's stuff I could have figured out on my own, or maybe I figured out on my own, but, you get a book and you sit down and you work it, because that's what a lot of these things are. They aren't, some things I don't really, I don't write a short about them. I don't do a lot of things with them, but I try to, I try to, I try to live my spirituality. I watched a video today, a commentary on the Book of No Books or something like that, and very, an Enochian tarot. If you've seen my series on Enochian tarot, my interpretation of the visions and concepts that were put down, as directed by Jared and Betty Schuler, I don't think that their interpretations are completely accurate. Same thing with their Enochian magic, but this is their own system of belief. And for them, maybe it's the accurate way. Because people are going to criticize me because I'm not Christian. Aaron Leitch, I am awaiting your book, Aaron Leitch. Enochian Book H. The Seventh Ray of the Church of Hermetic Sciences. And there's the Enochian Watchtowers by Dana Ramsey. All in the second book, the Blu-ray. I'd also read everything Church of Hermetic Science has to say. Their book of Solomonic Magic is excellent. Because they, just like I was talking the Book of the Law, they say, hey, there's an interpretation. This person has interpreted the cipher of the Book of the Law in its text. The John D. Salvo. The seal of Amath. It kind of works like a combination lock, and how the things are arranged. Lon Milo-Ket's good at explaining that. He's good at making Crowley seem not so difficult. John D. Salvo, his books are, again, not so purist, added sounds. It doesn't quite have the power for me in practice, or the beauty in adding sounds to the Enochian, but he did some interesting reconstructions of some of the artifacts there, and he reprinted Liber Loageth. But Aaron Leitch, if anybody's going to translate, all this, it's an interesting practice to write it all down and compose it that way. Some Enochian texts have been really subpar. A prime example is the likes of this. I wouldn't, maybe if it's like for $1 or something, but don't, unless it's, practically a throwaway at your library, don't spend your money. Because, vibrate it to putting each one to a different key, and another important book that would have, if you can't get the complete mystical records of John Dee, or you want something similar to operate as a grimoire, the Enochian evocation of John Dee. Aaron Leitch's Enochian grimoire also explains a lot, and it brings some detail that some understanding that you won't find in who is it, Jeffrey James's book. But you're going to, if you want a smaller version of the mystical records, that's kind of what you want. The Laycock's dictionary used to be the best dictionary, and if Aaron Leitch's dictionary is out of budget. I would strongly recommend that one. Um, what other book? Uh, the Crowley book with the sex magic and uh, 84 or something. You know, all these Western books that mention sex and they have like 2 pages. It's like, because we think that Tantra and all that's going to be about, but spiritual, reciting and meditating and all that sort of stuff. All those tech. Oh, no, yeah, the one. But, I can't think of an Enochian equivalent at the moment. But you can meditate upon the names. It's like the Calvary Cross. You can use as a body meditation. Advanced Enochian Magic by Frater Witt. Oh, his set of experience is probably his better book, but Advanced Enochian Magic is a book that refers you to the what's the word? The 60s culture of mysticism and science and pseudoscience, some's one way, some's the other way. That is, that there's some valuable insights in that book. But as far as unique understanding of the Enochian system, not so much. Maybe if you haven't read as many books on the subject as me and haven't pored over the original manuscripts, maybe you wouldn't figure that out. But it's a devotion of just like some other things. It's a devotion of, in my sense, of I'm worshiping and I'm trying to figure out things and being able to put them in other terms. And it's the versatility of what you can do with Enochian. People worship. I'm not Christian, and people are going to criticize me for not being Christian, not worshiping the angels. It's the angelic language. You must worship the angels. No, I'm fine. I can cosmologically say, hey, this is representative, or this is referring to something actual, but I'm not invoking some angel. I'm not evoking some angel when I do that. The history and myth that went behind the language. Aaron Leitch, also in his Enochian Grimoire, he does the same thing. That he says that, hey, Donald Tyson talks about some of the modern interpretation. I don't know, have I included all the authors that I'm going to say something about? I do have a few books that encompass about 800 pages or something that I'm going to spend some time with this month, and I'm going to write papers on each of them. At least 4 papers total. But the importance, don't wait till you spent years copying out Liber Loa Geth and having the 49 Enochian calls. Maybe you write down each author, a call of the 30 authors 30 different times, and that you've memorized all these names of God and angels and demons and all that, and then I'm going to finally practice. That could take years and years and years. Practice as you go along. Read a key, lay down, think. I've used different stones to represent what I'm working with, but I don't worship the stone. It's just a symbol that I use. Sometimes switch it up because there's 5 different systems of Enochian. You got the Anglorum Bonorum. It's sort of a cube. It's a cube and it's also a wheel. You got the tablet. You got the. You got all the furniture. You got the Enochian keys, and you can't. You got some miscellaneous. Well, you have some tools and stuff too. The ring and the lament and so each of these things can be thought of as separate, and you can weave them together. But I would say there's 5 different systems, and I'm trying to piece together what I can of the 5th system to kind of make it more cohesive rather than some random phrases and something. I feel there's something you can do with it. Enochian has its own semantics and its own language per se. It's very English. in its order, but sometimes it's a little, but it's cohesive rather than a lot of things, and it's not incoherent like my Demoniacus Fuma, my exorcism chants. Um, Enochian is sort of a middle ground for some people. You don't have to believe one way or another, or you don't have to believe it all for some people. And it works. It works psychedelically, and maybe it will open you up spiritually. But so, and Fitharzi Vomsarg. Peace be upon every one of you.